why is it so important for us to continue to set long-term goals? Even though we're adults and we're busy #adulting all the time, why is it important for us to set long-term goals? Well, I'll tell you why. Here are a couple of things. When you set long-term goals, all right, it pushes us ahead and it gives us a path to follow. It helps us to have purpose for what we're doing every day. And another thing is it helps us to live a happy and fulfilled life because, again, we're working towards something. Hey there, I'm Amber Harper, former burned out teacher turned teacher burnout coach, dedicated to helping other teachers like you to grow through your burnout and take your next best steps toward what you want from your career in education and in life. After an embarrassing emotional breakdown in front of my teacher besties, I knew something needed to change, and that something was me. I decided that I wasn't going to settle for burnout as my sentence as a teacher, mom, wife, or friend. And I knew it was going to take way more than practicing conventional self-care to make the progress I wanted to make. No amount of manicures, bottles of wine, or bubble baths was going to save this girl. Fast forward to a few years later, and I've used everything I've learned about teacher burnout and personal development to write a book, build a course, and lead a community of burned-in teachers who refuse to settle for a life of burnout as their forever reality. I've used my burnout as an opportunity to become an active participant in my life, in the classroom and here on the mic, using all that I've learned to teach kids and serve teachers. And you can do the same. The Burned In Teacher podcast is one part burnout and all other parts action, inspiration, and support to help you grow through your burnout and live a happier, more fulfilled career and life. So take a deep breath, my friend, because you're about to take your next best step to becoming a burned in teacher. Let's dive in. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you need someone in your life who can help to push you through challenging situations, heal from past trauma, or help you change your mindset and perspective, BetterHelp can assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist in less than 48 hours. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm a full-time teacher and a teacher burnout coach, not a licensed therapist. Sometimes your needs are deeper than what I can offer you as someone who is using their experience and success with beating burnout to support other teachers. And that's okay. BetterHelp is professional therapy done securely online. Available for everyone worldwide with weekly video or phone sessions and timely and thoughtful text-based check-ins and responses from your therapist all throughout the week if that's something you need. BetterHelp is more affordable than traditional online therapy, and financial aid is available. Go to www.betterhelp.com/burnedinteacher to sign up and check out all of the testimonials. And if you sign up, you get 10% off your first month by using my link. That's betterhelp.com/burnedinteacher. You'll get 10% off your first month with our promo code BurnedInTeacher. That's all one word. Burn on. Hey, what's up, Burned In Teachers? Welcome into episode 144 of the Burned In Teacher podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you so much for listening. And if this podcast has brought you any value at all, whether this summer or in the past 3 years of its existence, almost 4 years, I really encourage you to subscribe and to leave a review anywhere that you listen. It really helps me to reach other teachers out there who are searching, who are seeking for a different way of being. And I actually have a rating and a review to share with you today. I got a 5-star rating on iTunes, and forgive me if you're listening and I'm not pronouncing your name here correctly, but it's Flow App Not not work IBF. He or she said, this podcast saved my teaching career. That gives me goosebumps that they said that. This podcast got me back into the classroom after leaving twice, and I'm so grateful for the smart advice, practical coaching, and encouragement Amber offers. Amber is a guiding light in an often isolating profession. I just joined the mastermind, and I'm super excited to meet other like-minded educators. I highly recommend this podcast to all educators. Thank you so much for that review. And again, if you have found any value, I really appreciate your time that you dedicate to helping to spread the word by leaving a rating and review as well. Also, hey, reach out to me anytime on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Follow me at Burned In Teacher on any of those platforms and send me a DM. I love even voice DMs. I love hearing voices of teachers that follow me. Let me know what you'd like to hear on the podcast, what's resonated with you. Let me know how you're applying it to your life. Ask me questions. Ask BIT is a thing too. Feel free to ask me anything. I will answer it here on the podcast as well. And if something specifically resonates with you with this episode, we're going to talk about determining long-term goals today. This is a flashback to episode 59. If this sparks action in your life and you're going to start doing something new, you're going to set a new goal, you're going to start making a plan for that vision in your life, take a screenshot of this episode and share it out on social media, and feel free to tag me as well so I can send you a thank you and celebrate that choice to take action. Especially this summer, there have been some things that have happened that have been very heavy, that have weighed heavy on my heart, and that almost make me ask the question, what is the point to anything? Why does any of the work that I'm trying to do to empower people to create change and to be the change that they want to see in the world, why even try? Like when there's so much hurt and so much hate out there. I just want to be really honest and real with you all that it weighs on me too. And it kind of gets me stuck in this dark place of like, nothing I do even matters. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what I say. I keep hoping that things get better and that the world continues to, support each other, even though we're different. And that just doesn't seem to be happening out there. And, but then I think about, but why? It might seem cliche, but these are the most important times to come back to your why. Why am I doing this? Well, I do this work because I know what it feels like to be stuck at that deep and dark rock bottom, to feel like there is no purpose, to feel like I am just this ungrateful blob that has this beautiful life and just is. I was telling my husband yesterday, sometimes in the past, feeling like I'm just standing in the middle of all these things happening around me and I'm just watching them happen. And I don't wish that on anybody. And because of the work that I've done, I continue to get myself up and continue to move forward. And that's because I do have long-term goals and short-term goals. This episode can be about either for you, whether that's a goal that you'd like to accomplish today or next week or next month or next school year, whatever that is for you. I heard a quote lately, and I have basically said it every single day, if not out loud, at least once or twice or 500 times in my head each day to keep me going through these incredibly crazy times. It seems like we've been saying that now for years. Is that if you're not growing, if something is not in the process of growing, it is either dead or dying. I'm going to say that again. If something is not growing, it is either in the process of dying or it's dead already. And I think about the times where I struggled the most. I was not growing. I was surviving, which in my head is synonymous with I was dying. My spirit was dying. My lust for life. When I'm sitting there feeling like I'm going through the motions, when I'm not feeling like I'm connecting with people, when I'm not experiencing life and teaching and just the day-to-day gift of life that I have, I know that there's need for growth. And I think that that's something that we all desire. And that growth doesn't have to be, It doesn't have to be learning how to climb mountains so you can climb Mount Everest. It doesn't have to be, I'll talk about these things in this episode coming up, but your goals are yours. This is your one life. And my goal for you, my big long-term goal for all of you is that you don't remain stuck. If you're feeling stuck, it's that you come back to your why. Why are you teaching anyway? I asked that with a couple of different intentions, like, why are you even teaching? Why don't you go get a different job? Right? Like when we come at it with this, what might happen if, like, why am I teaching? Okay. It's because I want to have an impact on students. It's an important thing that I do. Like I've just always wanted to teach. I'm a teacher. I could go do something else, but I'm choosing not to. Okay. So why are you showing up every day? It is a job. That I believe that. That I believe that teaching is a job. They pay you money to be there. It is a job in and of the definition, right? But it's a hard job, and it can leave you emotionally exhausted. And, there is the depersonalization that happens sometimes if you don't have a focus on your vision and your why and your core values, right? So what are you doing to keep enjoying and growing through this life? Burnout Teacher is all about using burnout as a catalyst for growth and change. And that's because if you're not growing, you're dying or you're in the process. You're dead or you're in the process of dying. And that doesn't have to be like your literal physical self. It could be your spirit. It could be your joy. It could be your reason for teaching. It could be anything. And we're all in different seasons, and we're all in different places in the world, and we're all fighting different battles. And this episode is so deeply personal to me because when I first saw true change in my life, it was because I set the long-term goal of becoming a Google certified educator and trainer. And I wanted to ignite that passion for educational technology for other teachers that needed a change. And little did I know that it was really going to be a catalyst for this thing called Burned In Teacher that I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I just knew that I was being called and pulled into this direction. So I know you're going to find something that speaks to you in this episode, and you get to choose. You get to choose how you want to grow. It could be personally, could be professionally. It could be, something that you want to learn how to do just for the pure joy of it. It could be something that you want to set as a goal to get you out of a rut. It could be anything, literally anything. So listen deeply and intently to this episode. And again, I invite you to DM me at Burned In Teacher on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Join the Burned In Teacher podcast Facebook community. Let's talk about it. Let's get some accountability. Let's create some change. All right, let's tune in. Burn on. So let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever had a dream? I think of the movie Rapunzel. It's one of my favorite Disney movies, right there next to Moana. And that song always comes to mind every time I talk about having a dream or goals. I've said it before, and I'll continue to make this a huge part of my message. You can say you want something, that you want to go somewhere, that you want to do or be something different. But if you don't take the time to do something different in order to get that thing or get to that place, whether it be emotionally, physically, career, or personal, you won't get different results. And this episode sort of builds off of what I talked about last week, which is in order to take control over anything, whether it be your money, your time, your career, your weight, your anything, you have to start with a clear vision of what the heck you even want. You have to design a flexible plan on how you're going to get there, and then you do the hard stuff in order to get there. The hard stuff being your daily discipline and intention. And it doesn't have to be a brand spanking new year to determine what you want, to determine your long-term goals. We've already gone through the first 5 steps. That's B, begin where you are. U, understand your teacher brand. R, reflect on your challenges. N, nurture your strengths. And E, extend your reach and possibilities. So I can't wait to get started because this episode is action-packed. We're going to get you one step closer to becoming a burned-in teacher. Let's face it, this year has been another doozy. And now that I'm back in the classroom, it has been more important than ever for me to stay focused on my core values, mindset, goals, and my habits. As a teacher in today's world, it seems like there is always something new and hard that can easily throw our lesson and or life plans off track. But when I began to burn out many years ago for the 5th time in my 6-year teaching career, I told myself that crying to and from work, grading, prepping, and planning on nights and weekends, and Sunday scaries was just part of being a good teacher. The current challenges we're facing in education today are monumental. All of these challenges make balancing teaching and your everyday life seem unmanageable. Until now, teacher burnout has been hacked. In Hacking Teacher Burnout, I share my 8-step process I designed to help myself and other teachers navigate our way out of burnout. You see, out of my rock bottom burnout moment, I learned ways to focus on what I can control while learning ways to let go of the things that are out of my control. My book shines a light on burnout as an opportunity for growth and change, and in it, I empower you to become a burned-in teacher, a happier, more fulfilled, efficient, and effective person in the classroom and in life. In Hacking Teacher Burnout, you will learn the steps you can take to discover your burnout type. Did you know everyone has a type? Take actions that are best for you depending on your type. Move through burnout rather than fight against it. Make time for things that bring you growth and joy, and thrive, not just survive, personally and professionally. And, of course, to prepare for hardship before it hits and to conquer it when it does. And right now, you can download Chapter 1 for free. That's right, you can start your journey out of burnout using Step 1 of my process on the house. Go to burnedinteacher.com/free chapter today to get your first chapter on me. And there's no better time. After the year we've had, we deserve to use what I have designed to believe, think, say, and do different things in order to see different results in our lives. Go to burnedinteacher.com/free chapter to get your free chapter today. You won't be sorry. Burn on. So we are going to dive into determine your long-term goals. And like I said before the music was cued, I hope you have a paper and a pencil. And if you're driving, be prepared to listen to this again and go through these steps with me, because we are going to create a vision today. Oh, I'm so excited. The first thing you're going to do to determine your long-term goals is this. You first of all have to think about what you even want for yourself. You have to start to be honest with yourself, okay? Now, I probably haven't told or talked about this enough really, but when I was a senior in high school and my husband was a freshman at Purdue University, we got pregnant, and I had our daughter Hannah 2 months to the day after I graduated high school. And we had to work really hard to not be the status quo of teenage parents. We had to determine some long-term goals. We really did. And it took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of planning. You want to talk about daily discipline and intention, man, we had to do the hard work. In our case, we didn't really have a choice. And, there are situations in life that, I look back and I'm thinking, I didn't reach that goal, but did I really want it that badly? Because if I didn't want it that badly, I didn't do the daily work and the daily intention. But I think sometimes we set these goals for ourselves. We say, yeah, that would be really cool to do. And then we don't take any steps towards it. So this is really thinking about what goals do you truly have for yourself? Okay. So thinking back to goals that you used to have, graduating high school, maybe finding that special someone, maybe graduating college, maybe getting this dream job of being a teacher, right? What goals have you had in the past? Well, now what goals have you had lately? Because hopefully you're not saying things like, my goal is just to make it through the week. My goal is just to make it to spring break. Because if those are your goals, you are surviving. And this podcast, Burned In Teacher, the ebook, the courses, the membership, everything is about helping you to thrive in this one life that you have, my friend. So think about past goals that you've had, and now lately, what kind of goals have you had? And now you need to think too about why is it so important for us to continue to set long-term goals, even though we're adults and we're busy #adulting all the time? Why is it important for us to set long-term goals? Well, I'll tell you why. Here are a couple of things. When you set long-term goals, all right, it pushes us ahead and it gives us a path to follow. It helps us to have purpose for what we're doing every day. And another thing is it helps us to live a happy and fulfilled life because, again, we're working towards something. Now, let me make sure that I am very, very clear. And I feel like I've said this a million times, but I'm going to keep on saying it. If your goal is to simply love teaching fourth grade again, that is a completely valid and respectful goal. If you used to love teaching fourth grade and right now you can't even get yourself to get out of bed in the morning, that is a completely valid goal, okay? But if your goal is to do something different in your career, whether it be, I need to change schools, I need to try a different school because this one is just not working or I've outgrown it, whatever your reason is, that is also a respectful and valid goal. If your goal is to say, you know what, I want to serve this district in a different way, or I just want to serve teachers in a different way. I want to be a principal or maybe a counselor or a coach. I don't know. I really like technology. Could I maybe be a technology director? That's a completely valid goal. That's respectful. And maybe your goal is that maybe you've decided after you've gone through all of these practices that your goal is in fact to leave education, right? The last thing we need is somebody in the classroom who is grumpy and feels like a failure and hates what they do every day, right? So this process, the entire burn-in process, is not about keeping you in the classroom or keeping you where you are unless that's your goal. It's not about getting you out of education unless that's your goal, okay? This is all about determining what you truly want. So if you've never said it out loud, I dare you, say it right now. This can be a defining moment, all right? Carol Dweck talks about this in her book, Mindset. She says, even in the growth mindset, failure can be a painful experience, but it doesn't define you. It's a problem to be faced, dealt with, and learned from. And I'm talking right now about maybe past goals that you've set, but you kind of set them kind of willy-nilly. You said, yeah, I'd like to lose 50 pounds. Yeah. But you didn't really think about if that's something that could motivate you and drive you to make a plan and then go ahead with daily intention and daily discipline, right? That's the hard stuff. So we're going to make sure that we set a long-term goal today for personal and professional because both of those things are very important to continue to feel like you're growing. And we've got to make sure that it's something that truly means something to you, okay? So we've got several steps that we're going to go through today, okay? Step 1 is we're going to do a big dreams brain dump. Step 2 is we're going to think about what went well and what didn't go well last year, all right? We're going to think about, okay, now moving forward, what are we going to say heck yes to? And what are we going to say heck no to? We talked a little bit about this word no a couple of episodes ago. So go back, I believe it was episode 57, where I talked about how and when to say no and yes. Step 6 is what are your professional goals this year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? It's okay to dream far in advance. In fact, it's encouraged. And next and finally, what are your personal goals for this year? 3 years, 5 years. I know at one point, our family's personal goal was to move away from our home and move somewhere else. And it was scary and it almost seemed impossible, but we did it because it was important enough to us. Professionally, I knew that I wanted to do something, have a different impact on teachers. It was scary. I didn't know how I was going to make it work, but it was important enough to me. And those are my goals. That doesn't mean they have to be your goals. Okay. So step 1 is a big dreams brain dump. What do you want for yourself? And this is called a big dreams brain dump because it can be big, hairy, audacious things that you want for yourself tomorrow, next Tuesday, okay, next year, and 5 years, the next decade. Dream super big. You're just going to do a big dreams brain dump. So you're going to set your timer for 2 to 5 minutes and just write all the things down that come to your head, okay? All of the things. The next thing that you're going to do after, and you can push pause and go through this sort of like a workshop model if you'd like. Step 2 is you're going to do a check-in here. You're going to think about what went well last year. What are some things that you're proud of that bring a smile to your face? And by the way, I want to remind you, this is personal and professional, okay? What are things that make you smile? You kind of hold your head up higher when you think about it. What makes you super proud? What went well? Okay. And these don't even have to be monumental things. These can be little things. Okay. All right. Go ahead and push pause if you'd like. Set your timer for 2 to 5 minutes. Go ahead and get started on that. Step 3 is you're going to think about what hasn't gone well. What has caused you dread, anxiety, frustration, even anger? What has not gone well? What's just been dragging you down? Okay. 2 to 5 minutes. Set your timer. Pause this podcast. All right. Just let it all out. No one's going to see this but you. So you can be completely and totally honest with yourself. Okay. Step 4. Heck yes. What are you going to say heck yes to in the coming year? These can be tiny things or these can be huge things. All right. What are you going to say yes to? My friend Matt Miller, he consistently has said this to me. He said, sometimes you just got to burn the boats. You have to do something big. So you have to say yes. You have no other choice, right? This always comes to mind when I think about heck yes. If I'm going to say heck yes to something, I'm all in. There's no turning back. In fact, I did a couple things this past week that I'm like, I burned my boats. Like I'm all in. So, and it's exhilarating to say, there's no turning back. I'm a heck yes to this. All right. So think about things that you are going to say yes to this year. It could be things that you've never said yes to before in your life. All right. And these could be things that you used to say yes to that you haven't said yes to for a while and you miss them. So bring them back. Step 5 is, what are you going to say? Nope. Or no, thank you. Thank you for considering me. No, thanks. No. Heck no. All right. However you want to say it, what are some things you need to say no to? And again, go back to episode 57. If you don't really know how to say no or when to say no or why to say no. All right. If you're a burned and unbalanced teacher, I'm talking to you. Okay. So set your timer 2 to 5 minutes and do a brain dump. What do you need to consider saying no to in the future? Okay. And this can be starting tomorrow, by the way. You don't have to wait for a certain holiday to come around to do these things. Step 6 is really thinking about, okay, look back at your big dreams brain dump and look through those and think about what are some professional goals that you could set for yourself within the next 1, 3, or 5 years. Go ahead and pull them out of that brain dump, or you can add new ones and prioritize them. Okay. After you can, highlight, circle, start a new list, whatever it is you want. This is open-ended here. So put them in a list though, as far as, prioritize 1 through however many. All right. And again, this can be flexible. And we're going to come back to this list, especially next month when we talk about initiating lasting change. But if you have the ebook, then there's a chapter in there for that. And if you want to, go ahead and start planning. Do backwards planning. That's what it's all about. Where do you want to go? Plan backwards from there. Step 7 is personal goals. What do you want for yourself personally in the next 1, 3, 5 years? All right. So look back at that brain dump, add some new ones, and prioritize them. What is the most important to you? What's coming up next for you? Put them in an order. All right. Now, we're going to determine from all of these brain dumpings and listings and thoughts, we're going to determine a word of the year. Now, I didn't come up with this idea of creating a word of the year, but it just makes sense to look back through all of your brain dumping and find some commonalities. Find some words that are synonymous with one another. Highlight, circle, color code. I know, especially my elementary teachers out there, you got those markers, right? So go ahead and get your fancy pens out and make this pretty if you want, because you're going to determine your word of the year. And then you're going to write it nice and big on a poster or a clean piece of paper. You're going to decorate it. You're going to take a picture of it and make it the background of your phone. You're going to print it out and hang it all over the place next to your agents of change. Because this is your word of the year. This is what you're going to come back to. I've had several words of the year since I started doing this. My first one was jump. I had the word change. I had the word simplify. I've recently had the word growth. And let me tell you, coming back to those words of the year is really, really powerful. It helps to keep you focused, especially when you're wondering how on earth you're going to do anything with intention. This is something that can be very, very helpful when you're feeling lost. Okay. The next step is you need to make sure that your goals, looking back at that list, we need to talk about how we can make them smart. Okay, so you can choose your top 2 maybe in that priority list and be thinking about how you can make them more specific. Now, again, I didn't come up with this idea of SMART goals. In fact, Michael Hyatt, he actually has the idea of SMARTer goals with an ER at the end, but we're going to keep it super simple and we're going to keep them specific. So that's the what, why, and the how. All right. So what specifically is this goal? All right. Measurable is long-term, short-term. By what date are you going to have these things done? All right. It's achievable. All right. So for example, you are going to make sure that people know about this. You need to find some accountability. You need to make sure that it is agreeable. It's attainable. Okay. So if you want to be president of the United States, you need to make sure that you've allowed yourself a very long timeline if you've never worked in politics before. Okay. All right. Make sure it's achievable. Relevant. You have to have measurable outcomes. It's not about activities. Okay. So it's not about saying, I want to be. I've heard it said that you don't use the word be in your SMART goal. It has an actual action step. So maybe the word is write, or it's to run, or, so you have a specific, so for example, maybe you want to run a marathon or a mini marathon. I know here in Indianapolis, we have the Indy Mini coming up in May. So maybe your goal is to run, I know Kim Strobel, her goal is to run 35 miles a week. So what is your goal there? You want to run 20 miles a week, maybe start out with 5 miles a week. All right. So in order to get to your goal of running the mini, you have to have those relevant, measurable outcomes. Okay. All right. And then the final one is T, time bound. So by what date is this going to be done? All right. So now that you have these, you have your goals prioritized, you have your word of the year. Now you can make what's called a vision board, or I prefer to call it a mission board, because it keeps you attuned to your mission. And especially if you look back to step 1, begin where you are, thinking about, understand your teacher brand. When you're thinking about your core values and your personal mission statement, this is where you bring all of those together with the vision of what you want to do or be, or whatever it is that you want for yourself. You're combining all of this onto one board. You can make this digital. You can, I like to use PowerPoint or Google Drawings for this. You could also do a paper version. You can get out the good old magazines if you still have some of those laying around, and go ahead and create, cut out pictures. You can draw. You can do whatever you want. You can get really creative here. All right. You can have your word of the year. You can add in your people, your core values, your aspirations, your favorite quotes, everything you want. And then you know what you're going to do? You're going to post this puppy in the Burned In Teacher Facebook. Hopefully, you've already become a Burned In Teacher community member. If you haven't, why the heck not? We want you in there. I'm going live weekly. Actually, started last week. I used to be in the habit and then got out of the habit, especially through my bout of burnout. But I'm coming back, and I'm coming back strong. And we're especially going to be going through this cheat sheet that you got when you took the teacher burnout quiz. If you have not taken that, let me tell you, you have 2 things to stop this podcast right now and do. Number 1, you got to take the teacher burnout quiz. Go to burnedinteacher.com/burnout quiz. It is 6 questions, less than 3 minutes. Take that thing, start your journey. Second of all, you've got to get into our Facebook group. It's a safe place where you can talk about your struggles. You can ask questions about the cheat sheet, about your burnout type, about your stage, everything. This is where we change the conversation, my friends. This is where we talk and we walk. All right. If you don't engage, nothing will change. All right. I just rhymed and I did not mean to. All right. So get in there and take action with us. We are there to support you. We have almost 600 teachers in there ready and willing to start a conversation with you, a positive one that will create an outcome that you can live with, not survive through. Okay. All right. Next, you think about what you actually need to start thinking about adopting, changing, or abandoning. So you need to think about, what do I need to adopt in my life? Who do I need to adopt into my life to make these dreams and these goals become a reality? What do I need to change? A lot of this has to do with our mindset and our habits. Okay. What is it that I need to change? Go back to the episodes about extending your reach and possibilities, because it might be you need to change your schedule. You need to change how you're spending your time and what you're spending your time on. And next is abandon. What do you need to quit doing? Who do you need to quit hanging out with? Who is not going to be in your top 5? Okay. So go through and think about, okay, to reach these goals, what do I need to adopt, change, or abandon? All right. And my friends, you do these things, and I'm telling you what, it's almost like even creating this vision, creating these goals. It almost takes discipline to actually go through this practice, to actually truly determine what it is that you want. You guys, we're getting into the hard stuff now. We are on step 6. We are definitely getting into the discipline and intention. The first few steps of this, a lot of it is reflecting, learning more about ourselves, what brought us to this place, what our strengths are, what our challenges are. We are now leaping into action. Or you can take baby steps too, okay? For some reason, I'm thinking in terms of movies today. So I'm thinking about What About Bob? Like baby steps, right? Oh my goodness, that movie is like decades old. I don't even know why I brought it up. But all of that aside, whether it's baby steps or giant leaps, any action forward, any step forward is progress and growth. And I know you can do it. We are here for you. That's what Burned In Teacher is all about. It's about opening up the conversation. It's about changing the conversation. It's about being all in together in changing our reality and the things that are directly within our control. Speaking of that, and speaking of speaking, I have to quickly mention before we take off today that I have a speaker reel out there in the world, because I did a keynote a few weeks ago and I had it recorded and turned into this beautiful video that very clearly outlines what Burned In Teacher is, what it stands for. And I am ready and willing, my friends, to travel to your school and to do a keynote or a Burned In Teacher workshop, and to help you and your colleagues to get burned in together. So you can go to burnedinteacher.com/speaking. You can see the video reel there. You can even see some examples of me speaking on a couple of topics. And I encourage you and ask you to share it with your administrator or your superintendent, somebody who you feel could use this burned in mentality and message in their school, their district, or just in their lives. So go ahead and go to burnedinteacher.com/speaking, and you'll be able to see that reel. I'm so excited and proud of it. And I'm also excited and proud of you, because if you actually take these actions that I shared with you today, you are going to be not just one, but many steps closer to being a burned in teacher. All right. Now you've got some work to do. I'll see you next week. Burn on. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, you can head over to burnedinteacher.com, where you can access the entire vault of Burned In Teacher podcast episodes and more information about ways I want to help you go from burned out teacher to burned in human. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would be so grateful if you would head over to iTunes and leave a review and a rating about the Burned In Teacher podcast. Until next time, take a deep breath, because you just took another step to becoming a burned in teacher. Burn on.